Welcome back to the Rusty Pipes Fantasy Football League. We are now heading into week 6, and with many teams figuring out where they're sitting in this season, we have players and coaches making trades, either buying in or selling off. And over this weekend, we've had a plethora of trades go through, of teams filling those gaps in the rosters or building depth or just building those picks up for next year. Starting small, we have Michael trading Courtland Sutton to Carson earlier last week in exchange for tight end Jake Ferguson from Dallas. Michael had a good depth of receivers that he could use to, grab a more solid tight end other than Pat Freiermuth or Jonnu Smith, and just build up in case he, got that win last week to push him into more playoff contention. Now for the meat of the trades. Juicy Bear starts off the selling process by trading Jalen Hurts and a 6th-round pick to Cobb in exchange for Mac Jones and a first. Safe to say it's not the last trade for UD as he looks to build those picks that his son Reach had this year, looking to next year. We now get into the first fuck-up of the trading cycle. Not so dangerous. Acquired Jerry Jeudy in a 14th, sending a 3rd, and Ronnie Rivers, running back for the Los Angeles Rams, to Schultz. Definitely an overpay, and Michael now has to regain his 3rd while selling off this year. Inside reports state that Michael was a dumbass, is a nice way of saying it, playing video games, and he looked at the trade, misread. He has Jeudy in another league, he stated, and just thought that he had him in this league as well. Ended up thinking that he was giving away Jeudy for a 3rd. Turns out a trade from Schultz, if it looks good, is too good to be true. So he's learned that lesson for about the 8th time, but he's not done yet. More into that later in the video. Our next trade that went down this weekend was between Suck My Wake and Juicy Bear. Richie somewhat addressed his need for a running back, but it wasn't a great. He traded a 2nd-round pick and Latavius Murray to UD for James Conner in a 12th. The only problem with this is Conner is dealing with an injury that is sidelining him for multiple weeks. And reports out there in the league stated that both Michael and Mike were offering better running backs like King Henry from Mike or Josh Jacobs from Michael in exchange for a first. So only 1 round more for top 12 running backs who are healthy. Richie was quoted as saying, "The Durham rides again," when questioned about his decision to trade for James Conner. Mike wasn't done trading King Henry yet, though, as he turned around and traded him to Carson. Full details were as follows. Mike receives Courtland Sutton and a first. Carson receives Derrick Henry and a 7th rounder. So Mike finally gets rid of longtime running back on his team, Derrick Henry, and is starting to look to build on the future young prospects such as Jaleel McLaughlin, James Williams possibly, Marvin Mims. We'll see. Richie wasn't done after his Connors trade, though, as he did call Mike back, but for a different player. Richie acquired Christian Kirk and a 6th-rounder from Mike in exchange for Zay Jones and a 3rd. Mike is slowly building his draft arsenal up for next year. He's got 2 firsts now, 2 thirds. He's got I don't know how much more players he's got. Maybe he can help James Williams pops off the next few weeks before the trade deadline. Get one of those Lions fans to bite. Russ seems to have thrown in the towel on the season, starting 1-4. He's struggling, and he's moved on from Tony Pollard, his keeper from this year. He moved on from this morning. Pollard and a 5th are being traded to Reach in exchange for Najee Harris and a 5th. So Reach still retains a good middle-round pick and dumps off Najee Harris, who's kind of just holding up that bench fight. You can never trust him in the starting lineup, and he adds a really good starter in an attempt to compete with Smiley and Cobb. If the Dallas offense gets going again, Pollard can be a solid 15-plus point performer every week. Final trade of the weekend is between Smiley and Michael. This one is a doozy, not because of the players and picks that were involved, but the scandal and dumbassery that transpired during it. Michael receives A.J. Dillon and a 1st. Smiley receives Josh Jacobs in 8th, and Michael receives A.J. Dillon in a 1st. Start getting ready for next year, get those draft picks back and built up. But this is not what was originally the trade that was accepted. This morning, the league went into an uproar as Michael had actually accepted a trade that was Josh Jacobs and his 1st for A.J. Dillon and Smiley's 8th. Completely lopsided, and gave one of the best teams in the league another 1st to trade for another star player, because I believe Smiley still has his own as well at this point. Michael claimed he misread the trade and thought that he got Smiley's first. The second time this has happened this weekend, the first being the Schultz trade. And all hell broke loose. Cobb was pissed, threatened to quit the league if it went through. Mike threatened to fold the league and refund everyone, ending a 20-plus year Rusty Pipes Fantasy Football League due to having to deal with all this drama every year, it seems like, and he was just getting tired of listening and complaining. And Russ calling for it to go through and teach the young manager and Michael a lesson about paying attention. Finally, our hero, Smiley, called both Michaels and explained he meant to trade his first, making it a more legit trade, but had misclicked when creating the trade while he was driving. So we are figuring out, don't make or accept trades while driving, as you aren't paying attention enough while you're on the road. This cleared it all up and allowed our commissioner, Mike, to veto the lopsided trade and allow the originally planned one to go through. Thus, the Rusty Pipes Fantasy Football League was saved and continues to go on. I'm Michael Moore. I'll be back later this week with both the power rankings and the predictions, as teams are now shuffled up with all these trading going on. And I'm sure this won't be the last video I make on our transactions through this year. See you next time.